Good morning, beautiful people. How are you today? I've just come off the phone from my best friend who lives in Sydney, Australia, and he's stricken by the news that last night his nephew was found hanging in his front room. His nephew is in England, he's in Australia, and my friend feels completely helpless, lost, distraught, not just for himself, for Haydon, the boy who took his own life, for his sister, the mother of Haydon, and for the family. And suicide is never pretty, but Haydon was found by his younger brother who viewed Haydon as his hero. Now, I had the honour of meeting Haydon very early in his life, saw him as a baby and a little boy. And there's something very odd when the natural order of life is reversed. And of course, my best friend is trying to grapple with this news, trying to get his head round why someone would want to take their life, trying to get his head around how distraught, how devastated, how unhappy Haydon must have been to have taken his life, to have planned out his own death, to have hung himself in his own flat. Now, I didn't know Haydon as an older boy, as a teenager, as an adult, but I do sense, and I have been told by my friend, that Haydon was an incredibly beautiful soul, someone with a real soft centre, someone very humble, someone who could never do enough for everyone else, someone who was perhaps quite easy to take advantage of because of his big heart and his loving nature, and perhaps someone who felt that the world was a little bit imbalanced because he kept giving but didn't ever seem to receive. Looking at this with human eyes is impossible to justify. It's impossible to get your mind around this. I'd imagine if we had the opportunity to speak to someone in the spirit world about it, someone who can get into that eagle perspective very easily, can look through the eyes of the gods, that they would tell us that this is just another wave in the ocean. That while we see this incident as a 20-year-old boy taking his own life with the whole world at his feet, with so much ahead, so much opportunity and so much love he could give to the world, when we flip it and look at it from the spiritual side, from that eagle perspective that we call it, where we fly above the mountains and we see the earth from a distance, and we don't get caught up in the mind games, where we don't get caught up in our reptilian brain, our intellect, that perhaps there's a bigger story to tell here. Perhaps Haydon came down as a messenger for 20 years on this planet to hold people's hands, to show people what it's like to always give, to have so much love inside them. That Haydon was a gift to the earth, a gift to his family, a gift to his mum, to his brothers and sisters, to his uncle, to his friends. Of course, the major issue we have here is that his family are now steeped in guilt. They're thinking, was it me? Could I have done more? Why did I not understand? Why did he not feel like he could tell me? But again, this is us getting caught in our human brains. Haydon made this decision to take his life. There are arguments from all different angles here that no one should take their own life. It's too easy to do. It's a way out. But you know what? Who are we to make a judgment on that? Haydon is the only person who lived in his body. He's the only person who understood his own mind. He's the only person who lived out his own life. How can we as other human beings make that judgment that suicide is the easy way out, that it's not justified, that it's unfair on everyone else? But the important thing now is that from a human point of view, the people around Haydon are managed in a way that this doesn't become a trigger for somebody else. I can only imagine what it's like for his parents to have to live with this news. And I know already that his mother is feeling great guilt. She shouldn't. She's been his mother all his life, and she's done everything she could humanly do to make his life as good as possible. He has many brothers and sisters. You cannot dedicate your life to saving a soul. Perhaps in the great spiritual calendar, in the great timeline of life, Haydon was always meant to leave this earth at the age of 20 years old. We will never know that. There's no point analysing it, but what we can do is we can open up some sacred space for this boy and help his soul to go through a very peaceful transition, if that's possible. We can make sure that his soul isn't stuck to the earth. We can make sure that we forgive him for doing this. that we make sure that nobody around him is feeling guilty for him taking his own life. And how as a parent, how as a brother and a sister, how as a human being can we quantify this? How can we get our heads or get our hearts around this? Because to get over this kind of grief, the immense shock that this must bring to the body, to the mind, to the heart, is to let our heart break, to stay open to the pain. That is the only way that Haydon's mum, brother, sister, uncle, auntie, grandparents, that's the only way they can deal with this. If you don't go into that pain, then you will always crystallize the energy around it, and that is often very negative energy. It's grief, it's pain, but crystallized pain is so much stronger than fresh pain. The people around Haydon have to communicate, they have to talk to people, they have to feel the love, they have to share the grief, they have to dance in the pain. Even that is going to be very, very painful, and it will take a long time for them to get over this. But as we talked about yesterday, it is actually possible to turn pain into a superpower. Going through this very traumatic experience, and I imagine especially for his brother who found him, is going to be a long journey. But at the same time, that trauma, once he's dealt with it, if he's willing to go there and to dance with the pain, to go into that darkness and accept that he did that, to go over it in his mind many, many times, but to then go into his heart and to say, brother, I know you're still with me. I know you're still with me. Your human life may be over, but you are around me, and I can transform and take all that I've learnt from you and turn it into a magnificent strength, that I can grow through this, that I can help other people once I've got through this. I can talk to people, and I can explain what I went through and how I got through it. I can explain what an incredible person you were. I can explain the love that you had inside you, and I can also use that as well. Because what Haydon has done is he's left a legacy of love. He's left a legacy of beauty. He's left a legacy of his life. Everything that he brought to everyone, it was unique for every different person, can then be transformed into their energy as well. And they can take Haydon's magnificence and they can bring it to the rest of the world. They can share it. And that, allied with their own strength, their own journey, their own magic, it makes it an incredibly beautiful, strong medicine which can be shared with the world. Now, in moments like this, it's very difficult to know where to turn, to look for quotes which can help people, to look for wisdom and philosophy on this. But Ram Dass is always my first go-to man. And I remember Ram Dass writing a letter to some parents who lost their child very early in life, and she had quite a tragic and traumatic death. She was murdered. And he said, something in you dies when you bear the unbearable. In other words, you go beyond just the horror and pain of it, because it takes you beyond it. You can't bear it, and it is only in the dark night of the soul that you're prepared to see as God sees and to love as God loves. Now, whether you're religious or not, you don't have to take God as God. You can take God as spirit, as the soul of Haydon. For me, in moments like this, the door is wide open for someone like Haydon's mum, for someone like Haydon's dad, for Haydon's brothers and sisters and uncles and cousins. Right now, that pain is unfathomable as a human being, and it makes you realise that actually, death is a door opener. Death is something so big, something so grand that it's almost impossible to imagine that death is leading to nothing, because it's such a big thing. And if Haydon's family can see that, perhaps this is the moment that they realise that there's something bigger out there. Because they're probably thinking, where is Haydon now? And the moment I heard this news, I was sent a message by my best friend. I got this incredible electricity coming through me. It was almost like Haydon was saying, it's okay. It's okay. And of course, I found that very hard to translate when I spoke to my friends, saying, you know what, I got this very, very beautiful feeling when I found this out. Not that it's nice news, it's traumatic from a human point of view. It's the worst news you could ever receive. But this feeling I got, which shivered down my spine, was almost like Haydon's still around. His human energy, it might be gone, but the energy, just like any other kind of energy, is transformed into something else. Yes, we can't see it, we might not be able to feel it, But Haydon hasn't just disappeared into thin air. Haydon is now in a place where he's going to start his next mission. He's going to enter the next part of his existence. There is absolutely no way, and I can tell you this from the very feeling that I got in the moment I received that message, there is absolutely no way that Haydon no longer exists. He's somewhere, his love is somewhere. Yes, his love is also on this earth because he's left a great legacy, but it's also transformed into some beautiful part of this universe. He might have to go on a bit of a soul rehabilitation moment, because I think perhaps when you take your life, you may be deciding to end it earlier than it was originally planned, which means that he perhaps might have to come back and learn this lesson again, and who knows, maybe he comes back in the same family. But either way, I can promise you that Haydon is still around. So for anyone listening to this, please send great love out to him, to his soul, as it moves into transition. Please send love out to his family. Please send love out to anyone who is going through this trauma right now, anyone who's been through this trauma in the past. Because Haydon is just one of many, many young people right now who are very confused about this planet, about what's going on. They're scared. They watch the media. They watch the TV. They hear people talking, and it feels like the never-ending hell, when actually it's the complete reverse of that. What's happening on this planet is it's changing. Things are moving. Things are transforming. And nothing has actually changed personally for us. Yes, we might not have as much money. Yes, the media might be more negative. Yes, we can't fly on holiday, and it must be very difficult for Haydon's uncle, who's in Australia, not to be able to come to the UK to be there in that moment when they share the love at the funeral and send him one final beautiful farewell. There are restrictions, limitations in place. But actually, you are still you, I am still me. And the world, as far as I can see, is still turning, and the sun is still shining. Yes, there is more death in the world right now, although I did hear, in fact, that less people died in the UK in July this year than they died in July last year, which is interesting. But let's hold a torch in this moment. Let's light a candle. Let's find a feather on the floor. I've just seen a feather right in front of me on the floor. Isn't that incredible after all the chat we've had recently? Wow. Let's send as much love and passion and healing out to all these people who are struggling right now, so they can see that they're still alive. Yes, we've lost people, but right now, if you're still alive and you're still living on this planet, it's not the end of the world. There is still great beauty around us. I look at the trees, I look at the sky, I watch the birds, I smell the trees and the plants and the flowers. Let's try and stay positive. Let's try and hold each other's hand. Let's be there for each other. When we hear tragic news like this, it's so important that we hold space for the world, that we hold space for each other. That we're not scared to show our love for our friends, that we're not reluctant to kiss someone because we don't want to show them how much we love them, or it might seem that we're loving them too much. This is a time to be there for everyone else. Look everybody in the eye that you see. Send them love. Don't judge them. Have gratitude for your life on this planet. Have forgiveness for anyone who isn't acting in the way that you think they should be acting. And please, stop judging people. This is a time to have world unity. It's time to look after the planet, to realise that we're all one when it comes down